All right. Good morning, everyone. Well, first and foremost, thank you all for taking some time out of your busy diaries this morning to tune in with us. We've got another great series from our MicroStrategy webinar series, and today we have the privilege of presenting to you and hearing more insights into how the ScottishPower HR team put enterprise analytics to work. So my name's Seth Olson. I'm a senior account executive here at MicroStrategy. And so to get the most out of today's webinar, so we'll be sharing both a series of slides and videos and demos, but please feel free to help and participate in the Q&A session of this webinar. And also, as usual, feel free to interact with us on all forms of social, whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, share the webinar, and get the word out there. Great. So we've got two fantastic speakers for you this morning. First up, we have Gordon Burns, who is a senior systems consultant at ScottishPower, and he'll be sharing how the ScottishPower team has been able to leverage MicroStrategy throughout these challenging times of recent. And then following that, we'll have Rob Davis, VP of Solution Management at MicroStrategy, sharing further tips how other HR teams and our HR solutions in general. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Gordon.
Thanks, Seth. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming along today. Just a short disclaimer before we start. All of the data here, is modeled specifically for this webinar, but does use existing reports and tools that we use at ScottishPower. So, who are ScottishPower? We are a global leader in the energy industry, the first integrated company in the UK to generate 100% of our power from sustainable sources. We are part of the wider Iberdrola group and one of the UK Big Six. About our reporting and analytics journey. In early 2019, the HR department at ScottishPower partnered with our friends at MicroStrategy to bring our reporting and analysis to a whole new level, to replace our existing reporting solution of Oracle Discoverer with MicroStrategy. This allowed us to start on our journey to move from tabular reporting to dashboards and more advanced, effective types of visual reporting, but also, just as importantly, allowed us to start connecting to other HR support applications from one integrated reporting platform. A small example of this is on the screen just now. Originally, this was just a spreadsheet of levers that was emailed out to HR every day or every week. It's now a clear dashboard that shows levers by reason, gender. We can easily spot trends, make actionable decisions, or even just dive further into the data from here. As I mentioned, we look to integrate multiple systems reporting. So in our previous solution, data was merged from multiple systems manually through extracts, which is time consuming and inefficient. We now have our MicroStrategy environment linked to several systems, which allows for more integrated and automated reporting and helps us to provide insights we may not have gotten in the past. An example of this would be data from our case management and HR call system, and then merging that with our core HR data. So on the page here, you can see we're able to track the volume of cases over time, as well as which verticals in the business are contributing. You can see here quite clearly networks was the biggest contributor, and that makes sense being they're the biggest vertical in the business. Before, if we wanted to get this information, we'd have to pull data manually from two systems, blend it together, and then build some sort of reporting. But with MicroStrategy, it's as simple as a few clicks once you've done the underlying work. Improving processes. So using MicroStrategy we've been able to streamline several HR processes to make ourselves more efficient. For example, we now have a dashboard that allows our HR director to view all recruitment requests in one place. But more than that, she can slice it by business, by type of recruitment. She can see the data the way she wants to see it before making decisions and approving. But on to the reason I suppose you guys are here, tracking COVID, and how has MicroStrategy helped with that? To help support senior leaders, we have 2 dashboards that allow them to access key data quickly. This includes a map to show how many absences have been recorded at each location, KPI indicators which show the total number of absences, total number of recovered absences, and the total number of work days lost. We also have an overall absence trend chart, and then broken down KPI trend charts for each COVID absence reason. Moving on, I have a demo of this I'd like to take you through. So here is an example that we have for our webinar, but this is modelled on a real tool. As mentioned, we can see quite clearly total absence, return to work, and total weekdays lost, allowing senior leaders to see what's happening and make choices quickly. They can also slice by each vertical in the business. You can see it changes our KPIs as well as our map. So they can step through each individual business to get a more direct picture, or they can look at the business as a whole. On the map, you can see here we have our affected locations, but also we have nice hypercards, zero-click analytics that show for each location other important KPIs that we may want to track. Within the map, we can also maybe look for a specific location. Maybe we're only interested in London. Or, maybe we need to look at a specific region, so we need to look at our English offices. And we can see how easy it is to dive straight into the data. Moving on, we have a nice heat map here for currently affected employees. You can see it's color-coded to show the different types of case. And again, looking at the hyper, we thought what would be useful. So we can see the business, whether the person was high risk, their symptoms, whether they're currently quarantining, number of children at the home, and also the amount of people living in the same home. All of this allows us to make decisions based on things such as risk, if there are more people working in the home or more children, and helps us to reach out and support our employees in the best way possible. Moving on again to look at some trends. So here on the bottom, you can see we have an overall trend chart for COVID absences, showing it steadily decline, moving through the first phase or the first wave of COVID. But then towards the end, you'll see it starts to pick up again as wave 2 began here in the UK. On the top, we have these absences that are currently open, split out by the three COVID types. Again, you can spot the trends, but also quite important for making quick decisions. We can see the difference from yesterday, color-coded, and there straight away. This helps the business to look in and see exactly what's happening at any point in time. That is the tool that we have. I hope it's given you guys some ideas. And with that, I'll pass it over to Rob. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, Gordon. Thanks for that. I mean, there's some really insightful things there about, I think, some of the challenges that are facing HR today with regard to analytics. And what I'd like to get into now is some of those trends that we're seeing at MicroStrategy, some of those challenges we see facing HR departments with respect to how they deal with data, how they process data, how they become more proactive in their handling of staff and enabling staff. and talk about some of the technologies like hyperintelligence that we have at MicroStrategy that can actually help with that. So let me just share my screen here. And you get to see my messy desktop before I share my presentation. Seth, can you see that okay?
Yep, looks good to go.
Excellent. So again, my name is Rob Davis. I lead the solution management organization at MicroStrategy, which means I'm basically responsible for building the bridge between industry and line of business requirements and the technology that we provide at MicroStrategy. So today, again, I'm going to talk about some of the trends we're seeing in human resources with respect to data management, some of the challenges that human resources departments are seeing during this COVID period, and some of the solutions and some of the use cases that we're seeing for technologies such as hyperintelligence during this time. And I can't advance my slides for some reason. 1 minute. There we go. So the HR challenges that we're seeing are threefold, really. The first one Gordon actually hit on in his talk, which is having too many data sources. The average HR business partner or HR consultant often has to go to many different systems, performance systems, employee information systems, compensation systems, to get a full view of the employee and to understand everything that's affecting that employee on a daily basis. And this has an impact on the speed with which decisions can be made and the effectiveness with which decisions can be made on those employees as well, or how they can be helped to greater performance and greater effectiveness. The second challenge that we're seeing in HR is a lack of transparency. And again, this is a result of that lack of a 360-degree view of the employee. You can see part of an employee, their compensation, for example, in the comp system, their performance in the performance management system, their job description and their skill sets in the training system. But it's hard to bring all of that together as you're looking at whether a promotion should happen, for example, or whether you should look at a different job role for an employee, or even if they should be considered for a transfer or a move to a different geography in the organization. And what this results in is our third challenge, which is a reactive strategy. You have to get to the point where an employee is at the point of leaving or is a major retention risk before you can act on what the root cause of that is, be it a compensation problem or a job satisfaction problem. Whereas if you had access to all of that data in a single place, as you're interacting with the employee, as you're talking to that employee's manager, that helps you to actually make proactive decisions to bring that employee to a more effective state and to protect the most important part of your business, which is the human capital. The interesting thing is 90% of these decisions that we make, even in human resources, are done on a split-second basis. And 97% of them are data deprived. So you will go in and you'll guess that an employee is upset because of their compensation, or employee is upset because of their work hours or lack of homework flexibility. You have to guess what these things are, as opposed to getting real data to make a decision on and to see whether a promotion or a compensation raise or even a change of manager might be that difference that allows you to retain an employee or bring an employee to a state of satisfaction. And that's where hyperintelligence enters. And hyperintelligence is the concept that Gordon talked about in his talk there. So what it allows you to do, and again, I'm having trouble with my screen here. Just let me bring this into a different share here, 1 second. What this allows you to do is to build cards on everything that matters most in your company. So you can build cards on customers, you can build cards on accounts, activities, places, products, or even people. And when you build those cards on people for your human resources needs, they then can be deployed anywhere. Gordon showed you a hypercard deployed in a dashboard that allowed you to see further KPIs on sites and on COVID cases on locations in their geographical dashboard. But those same cards can be surfaced in any application that your employees use on a day-to-day basis. So they can be deployed in Microsoft Office and Excel or Outlook. They can be deployed in enterprise applications like Salesforce or Workday, or communication tools like Slack. or everything that your staff uses on a day-to-day basis. So imagine if your HR staff could get information from Workday while they're looking at a staff record in the compensation system or the performance review system. Or if a HR agent, HR business partner is making a spreadsheet on all of the staff in the department, and they can see the performance reviews of those staff in HyperCards right over top of the spreadsheet. It's that sort of instant access to information that makes HyperIntelligence powerful. And it takes advantage of all of the benefits of the MicroStrategy semantic graph, meaning that any bit of your enterprise data, whether it's coming from enterprise systems like Workday or like SAP or like Oracle, all of that can be built into a single HyperIntelligence card for a single version of the truth, a single 360-degree view of the customer, and then provide actions where your HR staff can approve compensation requests or approve vacation requests or approve promotions, all from within that card, thus enabling that split-second decision-making with a full suite of data behind it supporting that decision. So if we take a look at that in action, what would it look like? And I'll give you a little Salesforce example here. So here I turn on the HyperCards like you saw Gordon do in his demo for various employee cards and other HyperIntelligence cards. And then I go to Salesforce and I can see my customer card with information about that customer. I can see product cards, and I can even see employee cards that show me the information about my account manager that is working on that particular opportunity. So it becomes very easy to get information from other enterprise systems and other databases in the systems that you use every day. And that has the end result that it makes all of your applications smarter. So each one of your enterprise applications, be it a Workday or even Microsoft Office or your compensation system or your performance management system, has a certain amount of intelligence in it. But that intelligence is siloed. It only has to do with that one particular aspect of an employee. Business intelligence systems like self-service visual analytics and dashboards make that a little bit better because they can bring data together from those different enterprise applications in a single view. But what HyperIntelligence does, it allows you to combine data from all of those enterprise applications, all of those business intelligence tools, thus bringing a consistent level of intelligence to all of your applications, meaning that if your HR staff lives in Workday, they can do everything they need to do in Workday. If they live in your performance review system, they can do everything they need to do in that performance review system. So again, it levels the playing field. HyperIntelligence levels the playing field between all of your enterprise apps and your BI applications to bring a consistent level of intelligence to all of them. So let's look at how that applies to HR. And in MicroStrategy, we're using HyperIntelligence cards to actually build our culture and to allow people to know their employees, their coworkers, their managers better, and to contact them more effectively and to still collaborate with them even though we're all working at home now. So we have this concept of a employee card here at MicroStrategy where you have the department of the person, you have all their contact information, you have how long they've been with the company, and a fun fact about the employee as well. But you'll notice up top here, you can actually link out to Workday, to Slack, to email, to contact those employees immediately as well. So no matter what application I'm in, and let me show you an example here. If I open my email, for example, and I get an email talking about my colleague, Ati Poirier here, I can open up my HyperIntelligence access from within Microsoft Outlook, and I can see, oh, Ati's mentioned in the email, here's her HyperIntelligence card. And if I want to go ahead and contact her, I can read about who she is, I can read about her position, I can read a little bit about her personal interests, so I can, maybe start the conversation with her if I don't know her a little more effectively. And I can also do that from anyone else who is mentioned in the email. And then hit the Slack button and immediately be launched into Slack with a conversation with Molly and be able to go and ask her a question about whether we can move that appointment to the next day. So again, it streamlines my communications with staff, it streamlines my knowledge of the staff, and helps build closer teams, even though we're all working remotely and not in the office together anymore. The other big application we've been using at MicroStrategy, and we've actually implemented at some of our customers, is performance and compensation using HyperIntelligence cards as well. You probably all know that the performance cycle is a challenging cycle at any company, right? You have to access lots of different systems. You have to look at manager feedback. You have to look at current compensation versus the market. You have to look at promotion requests and promotion recommendations. And all of that can mean that you have to log into multiple systems. You have to waste time remembering what employee ID you're looking at, cutting and pasting information from one system to another in order to make simple decisions like promotions, like compensation changes, the rest of that. So what we've developed at MicroStrategy is a performance and compensation card as well, which shows the performance review of a particular employee for the last few quarters, what their salary is, when their last change was, what the last increase was. And this is where the magic of hyperintelligence really becomes visible, which is, since this is all based on the single version of the truth, the semantic graph in MicroStrategy, and the security that we have in that layer, only managers and HR partners will see information about employees that they're allowed to see during the performance review process. Anyone else, if I was a peer of Chris Chen, for example, I wouldn't be able to see this card. I wouldn't be able to see his salary. I wouldn't be able to see the last time he had an increase. But for an HR partner, for a manager, they're able to see that information very quickly. And during the performance review cycle, that becomes especially powerful. So here, for example, I'm in Microsoft Word writing a performance review for Chris Chen. Within Microsoft Word, I can turn on the HR cards. And now when I hover over Chris's highlighted field, I see that card. I can see when his last performance review was, what it was, when the last salary increase was. And I can also launch out into our performance review system automatically and see all of the information on the last review, what his relocation dreams are, what his job dreams are, and what his employee performance and development plan is, allowing me to quickly cut and paste that information in to this document that we're going to use as a justification for a promotion for Chris Chen. So again, I've saved myself the trouble of having to look up all of that performance review information separately, all of that salary information separately. And as an HR partner, I can instantly get the information I need to fill out this document and to move forward to a promotion request or a promotion recommendation. There's many other use cases for HR cards that we're developing both internally and with our customers and with our partners. One is executive team cards, allowing CXOs and the executive leadership team to get information about the peers and the organizations they lead. So things like, what was the non-regrettable attrition and the regrettable attrition over the past 3 quarters, so they can help to set KPIs for their teams on team retention and on team development. They can see things like the compliance rate with mandatory education or mandatory compliance training across their teams. All of that very easily by hovering over their teams in any application or even a report that they're writing in Microsoft Office. There's also people management cards. The performance management card I was showing you earlier is an example of that, but also giving the HR business partners and managers insights about the people they support. I use this one personally with my team, where I can look at my team list in Workday and see what the requests are for education and for personal development for the next quarter, which helps me immensely as I'm thinking about where I need to be taking the team in terms of development. Employee profile cards, so again, encouraging a culture of collaboration and putting people in touch with other employees who have similar interests in the product line or in the business that we have here at MicroStrategy. And skills and experience, and this is one that I think is particularly applicable, especially in technology firms, which is letting people know broadly what the skills and experience are of people in the organization. So if I'm looking for an expert on a particular part of the product or an expert in a particular business process, I can see that on their card as well, and allows me to instantly contact that person to get help. And again, in an age where we're all working from home and it's not as simple as walking down the hall and asking our friend, do you know somebody who knows how to help with this? This sort of remote connection of people and the ability to quickly see the skills and the experience of others in the organization is extremely helpful to building a cohesive and an effective organization. So that's just a brief fly through of what hyperintelligence is. I think Gordon showed some excellent examples of what the benefits of that are in terms of quick wins for human resources, in terms of getting more employee information and in more team flow and team dynamics information out to the organization. And we'd like to open up now to have a Q&A about this and talk about maybe some of the use cases that you have. This recording of this webcast will be sent out to all of you. You can join us for our next virtual events by checking on our website, and when you get the recording, you can click on that website. And if you have questions, you can contact us at the email address here. So let's open up now to the Q&A. I'll just stop sharing my screen, and we can have a chat.
Very good. Well, thank you both to Gordon and Rob for sharing those insights on how the leading HR teams today are using MicroStrategy to help further the value they're bringing to the business. I think what stood out most to me was the speed in which your HR team, Gordon, was able to react to the challenges that COVID brought up, and create some of those interesting dashboards and insightful dashboards that allow you to take action on some of that insight. I guess my quick, or my first question, as we wait for some of the questions from the audience to roll in, is, for the HyperCard use case, that seems very interesting and a great use case to embed the HyperCards within the dashboard. Was that something relatively easy to build, Gordon?
Yeah, it was very simple. We have all the data there, as we've mentioned. The semantic graph puts it all at your fingertips. So it's just a case of finding out what's important to you and then putting it on that card. Really simple UI to use it. I'm sure you guys have videos and examples there for people who are interested.
Gordon, are there plans to use that HyperCard in other applications as well and not just on that dashboard? So are there other places where you think it would be useful in the organization?
It is. At the moment, we have been looking at the idea of having a HyperCard within our case management system. So we'll get a window that tells you, here's the employee number, here's the employee. That's it. So maybe we want a HyperCard that shows where are they based, how long have they been with the company. Some of the examples that you showed within your slide deck are things we're looking at the moment.
And you said early in your presentation, Gordon, that this is a question actually I'm getting now. You talked about the number of data sources being quite a lot, right? And you didn't always get a full view of the employee. Can you tell me what those data sources are, or just in general? Like, you have a number of different HR management systems?
Yeah, so we have two core HR management systems. Being part of the Iberdrola group, we have the group tool, and then we have our own ScottishPower tool. We then have a case management tool. We have a learning tool. Working, with Power Grids, we have an authorizations tool. So anyone externally who works with the company or internally that works on the power line has authorizations. We have all of these feeding into MicroStrategy for one single reporting pool, which you can imagine saves an immense amount of time.
So one of the things we've seen with hyperintelligence is it often can be an entry point to business intelligence for people who aren't so data savvy. So they start with a hyperintelligence card, and then they drill down to a dashboard or a dossier from that card. So I'm wondering if you see any applications for maybe getting more adoption of analytics and more adoption of business intelligence by using hyperintelligence cards, but almost like people don't realize they're seeing data. It just happens within their application, and it allows them then to take on a greater role or a greater adoption of other business intelligence tools.
Sure, so it's a good idea. It's a great example. One of the things that we perhaps struggled with at the beginning was people actually knowing which reports were built within MicroStrategy. If you don't take them there, how do they know what's? So with Hyper, you can have your employee information, and link out to a dossier or a report services document that gives that wider view. We are currently looking at actually replacing our org chart reporting within MicroStrategy. So that would be a great example. You click on the employee that sends you the email, you can go and see their org chart, who works for them, what's their position, seamlessly through single sign-on into MicroStrategy.
Good. I have another question here, Gordon. Have you thought about setting up alerting and getting notifications delivered to your managers and stakeholders in case COVID-19 numbers reach a certain threshold? So more exception-based reporting, I guess.
Sure. So we recently upgraded to the new 2020 version, which obviously has a bit more alerting and monitoring tools within it. So now that we're getting started with some of these things, especially platform analytics, it's something we're looking at doing for real-time alerting as opposed to more regular reporting.
No, that's good. Okay. Good. I don't see any other questions. We'll just give it a couple of minutes for more questions to come in.
And Gordon, just quickly, I know you touched on it a little bit, but primary audience of who these dashboards are going out to, is this, is this going out to everyone? Is it going out to managers, executives? Are there different versions of the same dashboard depending on who it goes out to? Or
Sure. So the dashboard that was shown there is part of our Gold reporting suite. So that's the Gold business continuity team. That's actually going out to our senior leadership, directors of functions, as well as Keith Anderson, who's our CEO for ScottishPower. We then have a silver version, which goes to each business, maybe to more middle managers, that will show, for example, here's the network stats, because that's what you can see. Here's the corporate stats. So we have the wider picture for our senior leaders, and then we have the more restricted vertical view for each business.
Very good. Great.
Good. I have one more question, actually, guys. Gordon, are you planning to embed MicroStrategy dossiers in your most common applications to simplify the way your users consume information?
It's a good question, and it's actually something we're working on a proof of concept at the moment. And we have a lot of Oracle Apex apps, so you can actually embed MicroStrategy within that, which will mean we can bring our existing reporting or our new reports into existing applications, so that we don't have to bounce from one application to the other to get all the most relevant information.
Excellent. Good. Well, that's all the questions I see. Seth, thanks. Gordon, thank you very much. That was very insightful. Seth, any closing words?
No. Found it very insightful. Hopefully, all the viewers did as well. And thank you very much, Gordon, for taking the time to share your journey and share the story, and likewise to Rob for sharing your insights. And any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, to any of the viewers. And hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And thank you to Gordon and Rob.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Gordon. Have a great day, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Bye now.